What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Banks, coming at you live with another trade recap. Now, today, shorted Mara, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, do I think Mara has a great setup for continuation higher? Absolutely. But today was definitely a day to look short, and I'm going to show you exactly why I did that. Now, as you guys know, there is no hindsight trades here. We took Mara at the open, grabbed 78% on it. I think it went around about 83%, or close to 90% before the day was over. But I'm holding a couple runners to see if we can get a little leg down in the morning. So why did I want to look for a short setup on Mara? Well, initially I looked for a bounce setup, but I zoomed out and looked left. So if you guys aren't already doing this, please zoom out and look left when you are trading. And I always like to look at the daily time frame here. So the daily time frame, always look at your big levels, right? These are going to show your big supply and demand zones. They're also going to show your big support and resistance as well. So one thing about Mara specifically is Mara usually when we get a big move or a big push higher, it can have a nice little pullback. And you guys can see that, yes, we have some continuation sometimes, but Mara is definitely one of those stocks that pushes higher, sells, pushes higher, sells, pushes higher, sells, right? That's its personality. So the other thing I want to tell you guys, beyond looking at the higher time frames like the daily, the hourlies to find your levels, if you're trading a certain ticker, and this is why I like to suggest to learn a few so you can actually learn their personalities, because stocks do have a personality on how they like to trade. Some stocks love to run and run, some stocks love to run and sell. Some stocks take forever to finally lift off or actually get movement higher. So if you're just starting out, guys, look at a couple names and start to learn their personality. This is going to help you greatly in becoming profitable, because not every stock trades the same. And I know, as far as the idea of having your levels, playing true to them, stocks do have a personality. So in the beginning, guys, try to learn just a handful of them. Mag 7 is great to start, like Apple, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA. AMD is another good one. Learn their personality, and that will help you instead of jumping around from this stock to this stock and always trying to find a different stock every day. Just stick to a handful of stocks, and that's going to help you a lot in your journey to become profitable. Now, I do have here a couple words for you: sellers and buyers. Sellers and buyers. So why did I post these words here? Well, these are two important lessons that I'd like to share with you today to make trading more simple. All the stock market is made up of buyers and sellers, sellers and buyers. When you break it down like that, for me at least, it helped me make trading slower, if that makes sense. It helped everything just kind of come in line instead of looking at this indicator and this indicator and this indicator. Understanding that the stock market is just made up of sellers and buyers, it's a very simple game. Now, I'm not saying trading is easy by any stretch, but what trading actually is, what the stock market actually is a very simple construct. It is just buyers and sellers. So for me, at least, when I started to look at the market as just buyers and sellers, it made everything so much easier. And it finally gave me that aha moment and make everything click for me. So when I'm talking about buyers and sellers, what I want you guys to do is find where the sellers are, find where the buyers are, and that's going to show you your highest probability trade. Now, can we push through where there's a high zone of sellers and push higher? Absolutely. Can we push through where there's a high zone of buyers? Absolutely. But usually it takes a couple tries, supply and demand, to push through those zones. But we need to know what the highest probability trade is. And to find the highest probability trade is going to find where we can find the sellers and the buyers on the chart. So for Mara today, breaking this down for you guys, kind of recapping everything I just threw at you. I know it was kind of fast, but higher time frames. If you're not using the higher time frames to find your levels, to find your zones, please, please, please use them. It's going to help you greatly. Being stuck on the 5 minute, opening up the chart on that day and just sitting on a 5 minute chart, you have no idea what's going on, right? You have no idea what's going on. Beyond that, daily time frame. So when we zoom out and we look left, we can see some levels here, right? Some levels here. So did we break through this little supply? Absolutely. But where is this next supply zone? Where's the next big level? It's going to be that $20 level, right? 1998, call it 20 to round up. And this was my level to look short, look for a nice reject. Now, why is that? Well, if we zoom out again and look left, we could see heavy, heavy demand. So there's a lot of buyers, right? There's a balance here between buyers and sellers, but a lot of buyers on this last major push high in 27, right? Buyers, 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 buyers finally push out. Now we're below that, right? We sold off. So we can see where there were a lot of buyers. That means that if we finally push below this level, push below the zone, look how long there were buyers there for. We're below that now. There is now a lot of sellers, right? Massive sellers. So if we have a lot of buyers here and we finally sold through that level, then you got to think that when we return to this level, there's going to be a lot of sellers, right? So look at it this way. It took this long. How long was this? May to July of buyers to finally push it up. And then we push below it. So we have about 3 months of buying. That's a lot of sellers, right? That's a lot of sellers pushing us back down where buyers pretty much held us for 3 months. So there's going to be a lot of sellers here. So we're looking for that first retest back into the zone. More than likely going to be looking for a short setup. Now it could have came at 21. So my zone here was going to be 21 to 20. 21 to 20. This was going to be my nice little supply zone, right? Because I know the sellers were here. And what happened last year? Sellers. Beyond this, the zone that I have, we have our levels. And those right here is going to be 20 and 21. So now we have our supply zone and we have certain levels. So I get asked this all the time. What's the difference between a zone and the levels and what I should be looking at? A zone is going to be showing you where there are concentrated buyers or where there are concentrated sellers, right? It's a zone. There's multiple levels within that zone. Now, to take an actual entry on a trade, we need to find our levels within that zone. So the zone is going to be showing you where's heavy buyers or sellers. And within that zone, we need our levels to actually take trades, right? We're not just going to take a trade off of a huge zone. We need to actually have our levels that we're going to be looking at. In this instance, 20, 21. So we know we have our supply zone. We have our levels. So now where am I looking at to take a trade? Well, it's either going to be 20 or close to 21. It's going to be 20 or close to 21 if we see weakness, right? So we saw weakness this morning. We saw weakness into this level, into this 20 level. Going to take a short setup, right? Just because there's supply here, yes, we could have easily pushed higher, 2250 and a 24. But when we saw that we had a weakness, that was the cue to go to the short. So again, we have a supply zone. So we know sellers are here, a lot of sellers. We have our levels. We saw weakness. Okay. Well, if we know there's supply, we know there's sellers, we saw weakness into it, that high probability setup now is going to be a short-sided trade, right? Sellers, weakness into a massive supply zone, which is sellers, also into our level at 20. So we have weakness into a zone of sellers. We have weakness into one of our levels within that zone. What is the highest probability trade that we're going to take after that? It's going to be a short setup. Now, I'm not looking for a full-blown sell-off. I'm not saying anything like that, where I was looking for a short setup where we're going to sell all the way off. But at least touch back into that last supply that we just broke out of, right? So we had 1890, you could say 1950, but I was looking more for 1890 into 1850 here. I mean, you get quite down to 1850, but we got to 1880 or 1870. So supply, short setup, we went short, right back into this was supply, should now act as demand, right? Should now act as demand. Just like this was demand, we push back below, this demand should now act as supply. We pushed above this structure right here where we had sellers, right? Supply. You push higher, we rejected back down. Where are we going to look for support? We're going to look for support back into this demand zone. So that's exactly what we got today. That's why I went short on Mara today. Now it's a day trade, right? So don't confuse the strength that Mara has or that we're breaking a structure here. But since we are actually just day trading this, right? It was a setup to go short. So don't confuse strength or break of structure or anything like that when you are trading with a day trade. Now, if you're stringing it, I would definitely look for Mara to hold within these zones and definitely hold over this structure that we just broke out of, right? Supply. So definitely hold this structure here as demand and look for that for a continuation higher. Since we broke a big level here, we can hold that as now, where there's a lot of sellers, right? Sellers. We're coming back down into the zone. If we could hold this zone, those sellers now act as buyers. This would be a great setup for a swing back higher. So I hope everyone got a little tidbit for the information. I know it's a little bit long for you guys, but I'll just end it on this, guys. Look, the most important thing I want you guys to start doing, look to where the sellers are at, look to where the buyers are at. That's going to show your highest probability setup, and always look on the higher time frames. Appreciate you guys as always for joining in. If you guys want to join the team, you know we are always banking with us. I'll see you in here. If you have any questions, drop them below. Hit that retweet and like for me. You guys can do this. I believe in you. Let's have a great week. I will see you next time on another trade